Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Dojo Live, the recap show. It's Monday, November 9th, 2020, and I'm joined by Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi, Kim.
Hello. Hey, Tulio, Carlos.
Carlos
Hey,
Ponce
Kim,
from
Tulio.
Cuernavaca, Mexico. And, I-
Yes,
and
finally, you got it.
well, I mean, it was finally like 3 shows ago, Carlos. And I'm broadcasting from sunny Southern California. Finally, the sun is out. We had rain all weekend, which we needed. So, anyway, today's the recap show. We're recapping the shows from last week inside of 10 minutes, folks. That's it, 10 minutes. So, we had 3 shows last week, 3 shows. The first show was Digital Evolution. It was about maximizing your impact with Jonathan Kayam. And then we also had on Wednesday, creating relevant contextual experience to drive digital customer engagement with Paula Tompkins.
Say that
And
10 times fast.
yeah, and that afternoon we had avoiding noisy neighbors by delivering from the edge with Matt Levine. Obviously, we're not talking about physical noisy neighbors, but speaking of that show, I found that very interesting. Being someone who's experienced that. And by noisy neighbors, we're talking about the fact that we share internet access, for example, in a community, and you think you're buying a half a gigabyte speed link, but that's only dependent on how many people are on that node in your neighborhood and on at the same time. So that often causes noise, and it creates a problem for streaming service providers when they're delivering video content to your home. And so to manage that better, what these guys have created, what Matt Levine and his company have created, is a technology that allows for the CDN, the ability to cache the content more local to the user in such a way that's not necessarily shared, right? So instead of having a shared environment, it's a more dedicated environment, which means better throughput, better quality, better service to end users if you are a company like Hulu or Netflix. So I found that very interesting and educational in the sense that there are technologies to manage through that. And also the fact that there is so much traffic and so much quote unquote noise that companies need to get smarter and better about how they manage that. Of the other shows, anything else that stood out for you guys?
Well, I think last week was a lot of learning for me. It was a lot of different things that are directly outside of what I do. And admittedly, most of it was challenging for me to keep up with. But I think my biggest takeaway, and surprisingly, and as silly as this sounds, is the fact that the internet is not an infinite resource, right? That it actually has a finite element to it, and that's a challenge for technology these days, right? And exactly how they're trying to solve this problem, right? How can we get people the information that they want, and where do we keep all of this information? It's quite fascinating, actually.
Yeah, in my case, the one that I found, the show that I found very appealing to me, to say the least, is the one we had with Jonathan Kayam. Kayam, did I pronounce it correctly, Tulio?
Yeah,
Kayam. Yeah, exactly. And this was about the digital evolution. That's what I think that's what it was called. And what I found extremely appealing to me was the fact that how the content that is being generated is not only let's put it this way, distributed across traditional or mediums like cell phones and tablets and computers, but it can go beyond that. It can go and create a totally different viewing experience for the viewers themselves, in a way that, for example, you can set up instead of just being on your smartphone watching or consuming the content, you can simply plan on going to your living room and just watch your favorite talk show like Dojo Live right there on your living room, and even subscribe to it. So all this, the potential that I envision in this particular scenario is incredible. The challenge, the greatest challenge in my view, is the production side, because there might be a point where we cannot just rely on the content alone, but we might need some productions. And we saw that, Tulio, if you remember, with the platform. I don't know what platform Jonathan was using, but I thought when I saw it was, I want that. I want that for
It
Dojo
was
Live.
their own platform,
Yeah.
right? Investor
Well, they
Brand
are.
Network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what made them interesting, and it took me a little while to sort of figure out what do you guys do? Are you a PR firm?
Yeah.
And they call themselves a communication firm, but they also have a platform to
Mhm.
distribute content. So I was asking, are you a technology company or are you a communications company? They really consider themselves a communications company, but again, it talks to the plethora of outlets that are existing out there.
Mhm.
That it's not
Yeah.
enough just to get yourself on the mainstream social networks and networks. There are
Mhm.
secondary, tertiary outlets where people are consuming content and participating in that content, and you have to have a strategy to reach them. And so, what I enjoyed is this idea that you use technology to build this massive marketplace of
Mhm.
distribution, and through just one click, you're able to basically get all your content and information out. And they've done a good job building that. So
Well, if
kudos
if
to them.
yeah, and if I understood this correctly, Investor, as their name would suggest, Investor Brand Network, I think what helps them is that they're very focused on a very specific niche here, which is that of investing, right? So people who are interested in investments in stock markets and y those types of elements, they have this one-stop shop or this place to go to, which is a way, I think, of helping that digital marketing experience, right? So you don't have to try to, you know, shoot in the dark. You can specifically go to one place to develop the content to the audience that is actually interested in your content.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But the thing is, there are plenty of companies out there that do distribution and they have platform for distribution. I think what was interesting about them is they also have writers. They are not just
Mm.
distributing this information and content. They have the ability to produce content, and so that gives them a bit of
Mhm.
a competitive advantage. Let's move on to the Paula Tompkins. That was an interesting conversation about creating relevant contextual experiences. We often think about engaging customers, and we're using machine learning and artificial intelligence to get smarter, to permutate variations to learn what people are responding to. But it's often from a place of how can we maximize the value of the customer, right? How can we get the maximum out of this customer and provide them services and products that are timely and relevant that they would want to take action on. But what I found interesting about her approach and her company's approach was this idea of context. In other words, helping people when they're in trouble, when they need it the most. Find ways to create value that is meaningful for customers when they need it the most, right? So if someone needs an increase in their credit line, it's not an opportunity to just increase their credit line and get more business. Why is it happening? Because their house just burnt down and they have to make some purchases. Tie it to something meaningful. I found that very interesting and refreshing that they had this sort of context. We're coming up on time, guys. Anything else before we go into the shows that are coming up this week?
Not for me. Well,
Thank you.
if you have any
Great.
questions, just the audience, send us on Twitter at dojolive.com
Exactly.
And watch the shows for yourself.
and
So
watch
what do
the
we?
shows.
Yes, encourage you to watch the shows. We've put the link to the shows on this stream here. Just click on it. You can watch any of the shows. Carlos, what do we got coming up? We got less than a minute.
Absolutely. Tomorrow, I don't have the topics yet, but tomorrow we're going to be speaking with Walt Cox, the CEO of Move.io. That's the name of the company. And also Wednesday, we're going to be speaking with Sridhar Ranganathan, the CEO and co-founder of B2Brain. That's an interesting company that I encourage everyone to look into on our website. And finally, on Thursday, we're going to be speaking with Ann Chang, the CEO and Supercharge Lab. And I do have the topic for that one, and that's going to be the social dilemma of behavioral technology, utopia or dystopia. That's on Thursday, right here on Dojo Live, 1 p.m.